The rain hammered against the cafe windows like bullets against glass. Each drop a sharp reminder of how thoroughly soaked we were. My daughter's small hand clutched mine, her fingers cold and trembling despite the warmth I tried to transfer through my palm. At 4 years old, she shouldn't have to walk through storms like this, but the bus had broken down 3 blocks away, and my umbrella had snapped in the wind before we'd made it halfway here. "Mama, I'm cold," Lily whispered, her voice barely audible above the cafe's ambient noise. The hiss of the espresso machine, the murmur of conversations, the soft jazz playing overhead. "I know, baby. Just a few more minutes." I pushed open the heavy door, and a wave of warmth hit us, carrying with it the rich aroma of roasted coffee beans and fresh pastries. The scent wrapped around us like a blanket, and I felt Lily's grip loosen slightly as we stepped inside. Water dripped from our coats onto the polished hardwood floor, creating small puddles that reflected the amber lighting. I could feel eyes on us, the well-dressed patrons with their designer bags and pristine appearances, glancing at the bedraggled woman and child who'd just invaded their sanctuary. My cheeks burned with embarrassment as I noticed my reflection in the window. Hair plastered to my skull, mascara probably smudged beneath my eyes, my discount store coat hanging heavy with rainwater. We were invisible here, I realized. Just another struggling single mother trying to find shelter from the storm. I guided Lily toward a small table in the corner, as far from the other customers as possible. My hands shook as I dug through my worn purse for my wallet, mentally calculating how much I could spend. $5 for a hot chocolate for Lily. Maybe I could afford a small coffee for myself if I skipped lunch tomorrow. The tips from my waitressing shift last night had been disappointing, and rent was due in 3 days. "Can I have the one with whipped cream?" Lily asked, her blue eyes, so much like her father's, looking up at me with hope. "We'll see, sweetheart." I brushed a wet strand of hair from her face, my heart aching at the way she tried to smile despite shivering. 4 years. 4 years since I'd left everything behind. Since I'd run from the golden cage that had been my marriage. Since I'd discovered I was pregnant and chose freedom over luxury. 4 years since I'd last seen him. The barista, a young woman with purple hair and kind eyes, took my order without judgment. I asked for the hot chocolate with whipped cream and the cheapest coffee on the menu for myself. As I fumbled with the damp bills in my wallet, I became aware of a shift in the cafe's atmosphere. The conversations seemed to lower, the jazz sounding suddenly distant. That peculiar silence that falls when something, or someone, commands attention without demanding it. A scent cut through the coffee and rain. Expensive cologne, leather, and something darker. Something that made the hair on the back of my neck stand up, made my breath catch in my throat, made every instinct I possessed scream danger. I didn't need to turn around to know who had just entered. My body remembered before my mind could catch up. The way my pulse quickened, the way my skin prickled with awareness, the way 4 years of distance collapsed in an instant. "Keep the change," a voice said near the counter, deep, controlled with that slight accent that had once whispered promises against my skin in the dark. A voice I'd tried to forget in 1,000 sleepless nights. My hands froze on the counter. The barista's eyes widened slightly as she looked past me, and I saw her swallow hard. In my peripheral vision, I caught movement. 2 large men in dark suits positioning themselves near the door. Security. Of course he wouldn't travel alone. He never had, even back then. "Mama?" Lily's voice pulled me back, and I forced myself to move, to take the receipt, to breathe. "Just a minute, baby," I managed, my voice somehow steady despite the chaos in my chest. I turned slowly, deliberately keeping my eyes down, and began walking back to our table, but I couldn't help it. My gaze lifted, drawn like a moth to flame, and I saw him. 4 years had only sharpened him. Dante stood near the entrance, water droplets clinging to his black wool coat, which probably cost more than my entire year's rent. His dark hair was slightly longer than I remembered, swept back from his face in a way that emphasized those razor-sharp cheekbones and that jaw that looked carved from marble. But it was his eyes that stopped me, those storm-gray eyes that had once looked at me like I was his entire world, like I was something precious he'd killed to protect, or possess. They found mine across the cafe, and the world tilted. I saw the recognition hit him, saw something flicker in those carefully controlled features. Surprise, then hunger, then something that looked almost like pain, before his expression shuddered into the mask he wore so well. His hand, reaching for his phone, stopped mid-motion. One of his security detail said something to him, but Dante raised a single finger, silencing the man without looking away from me. The air between us felt electric, charged with 4 years of silence and everything left unsaid. I broke eye contact first, my survival instincts finally kicking in. My hands trembled as I made my way back to Lily, who was swinging her feet and humming softly, completely unaware that the most dangerous man I'd ever known was 20 feet away. "Here, sweetie," I said, my voice too bright, too false. I helped her out of her wet coat and draped it over the back of her chair, then did the same with mine, acutely aware that I was buying time, that I was delaying the inevitable. The barista brought our drinks, Lily's hot chocolate piled high with whipped cream, my simple black coffee. Lily's face lit up, and for a moment, I could almost pretend everything was normal. "Thank you, Mama." She reached for the cup, and I helped her, wrapping her small hands around the warmth. "Careful, it's hot. Blow on it first." She blew dramatically, sending a small shower of whipped cream onto the table, and giggled. The sound was pure joy, pure innocence, and it cracked something in my chest. This was why I'd left. This freedom, this simple happiness, this life where we weren't trapped in a world of violence and shadows. Even if it meant struggling, even if it meant poverty, even if it meant... "Excuse me." The voice came from directly beside our table, and I didn't need to look up to know who it was. My entire body tensed, every muscle preparing for flight even though I knew running was impossible. There was nowhere to go. Not with Lily here, not in a cafe full of people. I forced myself to raise my eyes. Dante stood there, his presence overwhelming in the small space. Up close, I could see the fine fabric of his suit, the gold cufflinks at his wrists, the subtle bulge beneath his jacket that meant he was armed, always armed. His security stayed back, but I could feel their attention, their readiness. "Dante," I said, and his name tasted like ash and honey on my tongue. His eyes moved from me to Lily, and I watched his entire body go still. Lily, oblivious, was focused on carefully sipping her hot chocolate, her small face serious with concentration. When Dante's gaze returned to mine, something had changed in it. Something calculating and intense and possessive in a way that made my stomach drop. 4 years, he said softly, his voice controlled, but with an edge that made it clear he was anything but calm. 4 years, and not a word. I had my reasons. I kept my voice low, praying Lily wouldn't pick up on the tension. "I'm sure you did." His jaw tightened, and I saw his hands clench at his sides before he forced them to relax. "We need to talk. There's nothing to talk about. That part of my life is over. Is it?" His eyes flickered to Lily again, and I saw him doing the math, saw the exact moment the realization hit him. His face went blank, then thunderous, then carefully neutral again in the span of seconds. When he spoke, his voice was barely above a whisper, but it carried the weight of 1,000 unspoken questions. "How old is she?" My heart stopped. "That's none of your business," I managed, but my voice shook, betraying me. "How old is she?" Each word was precise, controlled, deadly. Before I could answer, Lily looked up, her blue eyes, his eyes, curious. "Mama, who is this man?" Dante's breath caught, audible even in the busy cafe. He stared at her like she was a ghost, like she was everything he'd ever wanted, and everything he'd never known he'd lost. He started, then stopped, seeming at a loss for words for the first time since I'd known him. "He's an old friend," I said quickly, standing up, positioning myself between them. "We were just saying hello. He was just leaving." "Was I?" Dante's eyes met mine, and in them I saw a storm brewing. Anger, betrayal, hunger, and something that looked dangerously like joy. "I don't think so. In fact, I think we have a great deal to discuss, privately. I'm not going anywhere with you." "Then we'll talk here." He pulled out the chair across from Lily and sat down before I could protest, his movements fluid and graceful despite his size. One of his security men stepped forward, but Dante waved him back. 20 minutes. That's all I'm asking. You don't get to ask me for anything anymore." "Don't I?" He leaned forward, his voice dropping lower, intimate in a way that made my skin flush despite everything. You left in the middle of the night. You disappeared. I looked for you everywhere, spent a fortune, turned the city upside down. And now I know why. His gaze moved to Lily again, and something in his expression shifted. The hardness softened, replaced by wonder and fury and a possessiveness that made me realize just how much danger we were in. "She's mine," he said, and it wasn't a question. "No. Look at her. Those eyes, that chin. She's mine, and you kept her from me." His hand gripped the edge of the table, knuckles white. 4 years. 4 years of her life. You don't understand, then make me understand, right now. The threat in his voice was subtle but unmistakable. This was Dante Moretti, the man who controlled half the city's underground, who had people disappear with a single phone call, who had built an empire on fear and loyalty. And I'd kept his daughter from him. Lily, sensing the tension even if she didn't understand it, reached for my hand. "Mama?" I squeezed her fingers gently, trying to project calm I didn't feel. "It's okay, baby." But it wasn't okay. Nothing about this was okay, because I could see in Dante's eyes that he wasn't going to let us walk away. Not now. Not ever. 4 years of freedom had just ended the moment we walked into this cafe. The moment our eyes met. The moment he saw what I'd been hiding. And the most terrifying part, a small, traitorous part of me felt relief. Relief that the running was over, that the constant looking over my shoulder could finally end, that the weight of secrets could finally be lifted. Even if it meant walking back into his world. Even if it meant surrendering the freedom I'd fought so hard to gain. Dante pulled out his phone, pressed a button, and spoke quietly. "Marco, bring the car around to the cafe on 5th, and clear my afternoon." "Wait," I started, but he cut me off with a look. "We're not having this conversation here. Not in front of—" He paused, his throat working. "Not in front of our daughter. You're going to get your coats, and we're going somewhere private, somewhere warm. Somewhere she can eat properly while you explain to me why you've been living like this." His eyes raked over my discount store clothes, my worn purse, the desperation I couldn't quite hide. "Why you've been struggling when you could have had everything. I didn't want your everything, that's why I left. And took my child." The words were soft but laced with fury. "We'll discuss your reasons, all of them. But first, Lily needs dry clothes and food, and you—" He stood, towering over me. And despite everything, despite the fear and the anger, my body responded to his proximity the way it always had. "You need to stop running. The game is over, Elena. 4 years is long enough." He turned and walked toward the door, his security falling into step around him. Then he paused and looked back, his eyes finding mine across the cafe. 5 minutes. If you're not outside in 5 minutes, I'll come back in, and we'll do this the hard way. Your choice." Then he was gone, leaving behind only the scent of expensive cologne and the ruins of the careful life I'd built. Lily tugged on my sleeve. "Mama, why are you crying?" I touched my cheek and found it wet. I hadn't even realized. "It's nothing, baby. It's been a long day." Through the window, I could see a black SUV pulling up to the curb, sleek and predatory. Dante stood beside it, his coat collar turned up against the rain, his eyes never leaving the cafe entrance, waiting. Always so patient when it came to getting what he wanted. And now, he wanted her. Wanted us. I had 3 minutes to decide. Walk out that door and face whatever came next, or try to run again and spend the rest of my life looking over my shoulder, knowing he'd never stop searching. Lily finished her hot chocolate and looked up at me with complete trust. "Can we go home now?" Home. Such a simple word for something that no longer existed, because the moment Dante Moretti discovered he had a daughter, everything changed. The question wasn't whether I'd lose her. It was how much of myself I'd have to sacrifice to keep her safe from his world, or worse, how much I'd have to become part of that world again. I helped Lily into her damp coat, my hands moving mechanically while my mind raced. Outside, Dante checked his watch. 2 minutes left. The rain continued to fall, washing away the last remnants of my carefully constructed fantasy that we could ever truly escape him. I stepped out into the rain with Lily's hand in mine, and immediately felt the weight of Dante's gaze. One of his security men, a mountain of a person with a scar running down his left cheek, opened the SUV's rear door. The interior glowed with soft amber lighting, leather seats that probably cost more than my monthly salary, and a warmth that beckoned us out of the cold. Dante stood motionless, rain darkening his expensive coat. But he didn't seem to notice or care. His eyes were fixed on Lily with an intensity that made my chest tight. When we approached, he moved suddenly, fluidly, positioning himself between us and the rain, using his body as a shield. "Careful," he murmured as Lily climbed inside, his hand hovering near her back without quite touching, as if he was afraid she might break or disappear. I followed her in, and Dante slid in beside me, close enough that I could feel the heat radiating from him, smell the rain on his skin beneath the cologne. The door closed with a solid final sound, the kind of sound that meant there was no going back. "Where are we going?" I asked, hating how small my voice sounded. "My apartment. It's close." He leaned forward and spoke to the driver in Italian, too rapid for me to follow, though I caught a few words: careful, quick, the usual route. The car pulled away from the curb smoothly, and I watched the cafe disappear behind us. Lily pressed her face to the window, eyes wide as she took in the luxurious interior. The screens embedded in the seats, the small refrigerator, the space that seemed impossibly large for a vehicle. "Wow," she breathed. "This is like a house on wheels." Dante's expression softened for the first time since we'd sat down at that table. "Would you like something to drink? There's juice, water, milk." "Really?" Lily looked at me for permission, and I nodded numbly. What else could I do? He retrieved a bottle of apple juice from the refrigerator, opened it carefully, and handed it to her. His movements were precise, controlled, but I could see the tremor in his fingers, the barely contained emotion beneath the surface. "Thank you," Lily said automatically, the manners I'd drilled into her kicking in. "You're welcome." His voice cracked slightly on the words, and he cleared his throat, looking away. When his eyes met mine, they were burning with questions, accusations, and something that looked dangerously like longing. The drive took less than 10 minutes, but it felt like hours. Dante made small talk with Lily, asked her about her favorite color, what she liked to do, if she enjoyed stories. She answered with the easy openness of a child who didn't understand that the man asking was dangerous, that he could take everything away from us with a single command. Every word she spoke, every smile she gave, I watched Dante fall further under her spell. His jaw would tighten when she laughed, his hands would clench when she mentioned something I'd taught her, and his eyes never left her face, drinking in every detail as if memorizing her. We pulled into an underground garage. Not the parking structure I'd expected, but a private entrance with a gate that required security codes and facial recognition. The SUV descended 2 levels before stopping in a space marked with Dante's initials. 2 more security personnel appeared from nowhere, scanning the area before giving Dante a subtle nod. "Stay close," he said, and I wasn't sure if he was talking to me or his men. The elevator was mirrored and modern, requiring a keycard and fingerprint to access the penthouse level. Lily stood between us, clutching her juice box, humming softly. In the reflection, I could see the 3 of us together, a family portrait that never should have existed. Dante stood rigid, his eyes flickering between Lily and me, his jaw working as if he was holding back 1,000 words. The doors opened directly into his apartment, and I fought to keep my expression neutral. I'd forgotten, or maybe forced myself to forget, the sheer opulence of his world. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city, rain streaming down the glass like tears. The furniture was modern and expensive, all clean lines and rich fabrics. Original artwork hung on the walls. Pieces I recognized from magazines, paintings worth more than I'd earn in 10 lifetimes. "Maria!" Dante called out, and a woman in her 50s appeared from what I assumed was the kitchen. She wore a simple gray dress and an expression of professional courtesy that faltered slightly when she saw me and Lily. "We have guests. The child needs dry clothes and food, something warm, and find something appropriate for her mother as well." Of course, Mr. Moretti. Maria's eyes lingered on Lily with barely concealed curiosity before she hurried away. I don't need... I started. But Dante cut me off. You're soaked through. Lily is shivering. This isn't negotiable. He crouched down to Lily's level, and the movement was so unexpectedly gentle that it made my throat tight. Would you like to see something special while Maria gets you some warm clothes? Lily looked at me, uncertain, and I nodded. What choice did I have? He led us through the apartment to a room I'd never seen before, a library with walls of books reaching toward a vaulted ceiling. But in the corner, partially hidden behind a leather chair, sat something that made Lily gasp. A massive dollhouse, 3 stories tall, with intricate furniture and tiny inhabitants frozen in their perfect lives. My mother's, Dante said quietly. She made it when she was young. I thought... He trailed off, shaking his head. You can play with it if you'd like. Can I, Mama? Lily's eyes were huge, reflecting the warm lighting. Yes, baby. But be gentle. She didn't need to be told twice. Within seconds, she was kneeling before the dollhouse, carefully opening the miniature doors and examining the rooms with the intense focus only children possess. Dante straightened, and suddenly we were alone. Or as alone as we could be with security somewhere nearby and Maria bustling in another room. The air between us felt thick, charged with everything unsaid. My office. Now. He walked toward a door at the far end of the library, and I followed because refusing would only delay the inevitable. His office was masculine and austere. Dark wood, leather, a desk that looked like it had witnessed countless decisions both legal and otherwise. The rain against the windows provided a constant backdrop, a reminder that the world outside continued despite everything falling apart inside. Dante closed the door, leaned against it, and just stared at me. The silence stretched, oppressive and heavy, until I couldn't bear it anymore. Say something, I whispered. What would you like me to say? His voice was dangerously soft. That I understand why you ran? That I forgive you for stealing 4 years of my daughter's life? That I'm not furious beyond words right now? You don't know what it was like. Then tell me. The words exploded from him, and I flinched. He noticed, and something in his expression shifted, became more controlled, more dangerous in its calmness. Tell me why you disappeared in the middle of the night. Why you left no note, no explanation, no forwarding address. Why you let me believe you were dead in a ditch somewhere while you were pregnant with my child. Because I couldn't stay, I said, my own anger rising to meet his. Because every day in your world was suffocating me. Because I didn't want my child growing up surrounded by violence and fear and what? Protection? Wealth? Everything she could ever need? He pushed off the door, closing the distance between us in 2 strides. Look at you, Elena. Your clothes are threadbare. You're too thin. You were counting change to buy your daughter a hot chocolate for God's sake. Is this the better life you chose? It's an honest life. It's safe. Safe? He laughed, but there was no humor in it. You think you've been safe? You think I haven't had people looking for you this entire time? The only reason you stayed hidden is because you were smart enough to go so far off the grid that even my best people couldn't find you. But safe. You've been one piece of bad luck away from disaster, and you know it. I hated that he was right. Hated that every month was a struggle. That every unexpected expense sent me into panic. That I'd had to choose between fixing my car and buying Lily new shoes last month. At least she's been free, I said weakly. Free from what? Her father? Her heritage? Her birthright. He moved closer, and I backed up until my legs hit the edge of his desk. She's 4 years old, Elena, 4. And I've missed all of it. Her first words, her first steps, her first birthday. Every single milestone, every moment, you stole that from me. You would have consumed her, I shot back, like you consumed me. You would have wrapped her in bulletproof glass and armed guards and turned her into a prisoner in a golden cage, just like you did to me. Is that what you think? His voice dropped to barely a whisper, and somehow that was more terrifying than his anger. That I imprisoned you, didn't you? Every time I wanted to go somewhere, there were guards. Every friend I made was investigated. Every choice I made had to be approved by you or your people. I couldn't breathe, Dante. I was drowning. I was protecting you. His hands gripped the desk on either side of me, caging me in. Do you have any idea how many enemies I have? How many people would have loved to use you against me? I gave you everything except freedom. Freedom. He said the word like it tasted bitter. And what has your freedom gotten you? Poverty? Exhaustion? Our daughter wearing secondhand clothes and drinking cheap juice boxes instead of what? Being raised by nannies while you conduct your business? Learning to recognize the sound of gunfire before she can read? Understanding that daddy might not come home some nights because someone put a bullet in him? My voice cracked. I left to give her a normal life. There is nothing normal about her. His face was inches from mine now, his breath warm against my skin. She is my daughter, my blood. She deserves to know who she is, where she comes from, what she's entitled to. She's entitled to a childhood, to innocence, to not being afraid. And you think I can't give her that? Something flashed in his eyes, hurt, genuine and raw. You think I would let anything happen to her? That I wouldn't burn the entire city down to keep her safe? That's exactly what I'm afraid of, I whispered. Your love is suffocating, Dante. It's possessive and controlling and unconditional. He lifted one hand, his fingers tracing my jaw with heartbreaking gentleness. You left me, and I still looked for you every day. Still kept your side of the bed empty. Still hoped that maybe, somehow you'd come back. Do you have any idea what it did to me when you vanished? When I came home and found you gone? I closed my eyes against the intensity in his gaze, against the memory of that night. I'd waited until he left for a meeting, packed a single bag, and run. I'd left my phone, my credit cards, everything that could be traced. I'd disappeared into the night like a ghost, and part of me had died doing it. I had to, I said. For both of us. No. His thumb brushed across my lower lip, and my breath caught despite everything. You were afraid. I understand that now. But running solved nothing. It just prolonged the inevitable. What inevitable? This. His voice dropped lower, became intimate in a way that made heat pool in my stomach despite my anger. Us. In the same room again. Our daughter in the next room. The three of us, together, as we should have been all along. Dante. She has my eyes. Did you know that? The exact shade. The exact shape. When she looked at me in that cafe, it was like looking at my mother's childhood photographs. His forehead touched mine, and I could feel him trembling with restrained emotion. You gave me a daughter, Elena, a perfect, beautiful daughter, and I didn't even know she existed. I'm sorry, I whispered, and I meant it. Whatever my reasons, whatever my fears, I couldn't deny that I'd taken something precious from him. I'm sorry you missed so much. Sorry doesn't give me back 4 years. He pulled away abruptly, leaving me cold. But we can't change the past. We can only move forward, and moving forward means decisions need to be made. The way he said it made my blood run cold. What kind of decisions? Practical ones. He walked to the window, hands clasped behind his back, every inch the Don contemplating strategy. Lily is mine. That's not debatable, which means she needs proper protection, proper resources, proper everything. And you, he turned, his expression unreadable. You're her mother. That complicates things. Complicates things how? I could take her. The words were matter of fact, devastating in their simplicity. I have the resources, the lawyers, the power. You're barely scraping by. Any judge would see that I can provide a better life. You wouldn't. But even as I said it, I knew he could. Knew he would, if pushed. I don't want to. He crossed back to me, his expression softening slightly. Despite everything, despite the anger and the betrayal, I don't want to take her from you. You're her mother. She loves you. Taking her would hurt her, and I won't do that. Relief flooded through me, so intense I felt dizzy. Thank you. But there are conditions. Of course there were. With Dante, there were always conditions. What conditions? You move in here. Both of you. I have more than enough space and it's secure. Lily will have everything she needs. Education, clothes, activities, whatever makes her happy. You'll have a stipend, access to whatever you need. In exchange, I get to be her father. I get to make up for lost time. You want us to live with you. My mind reeled at the implications. I want my daughter under my roof, protected by my people, safe from anyone who might want to use her to get to me, and I want you where I can see you, where you can't run again. His eyes bore into mine. This is non-negotiable, Elena. Either you agree, or we do this the hard way through courts and lawyers and custody battles that will drain what little money you have. Your choice. It wasn't a choice at all, and we both knew it. How long? I asked quietly. How long what? How long do we have to live here? Something dangerous flickered in his expression. As long as it takes. As long as what takes. He stepped closer, crowding into my space again, his presence overwhelming. As long as it takes for you to remember why you married me in the first place. Why you said yes when I asked. Why you looked at me like I was your entire world before fear made you run. Dante, I never stopped loving you, Elena. Never stopped wanting you. Never stopped believing you'd come back. His hand cupped my face, and despite everything, I found myself leaning into his touch. 4 years apart doesn't change what we had, what we could have again. We can't go back. No. But we can move forward. Together. He leaned in, his lips brushing my ear. Say yes. Agree to this. Let me take care of you both. Let me be the father I should have been from the beginning. In the next room, I could hear Lily's delighted laughter as she discovered something new in the dollhouse. The sound tugged at something deep in my chest. The knowledge that she deserved more than I'd been able to give her alone, and if I say no, then I make good on my threat. I take her through legal channels, and you visit her on weekends if you're lucky. His voice hardened. I don't want to do that, but I will if you force my hand. I've already missed 4 years. I won't miss another day. I looked up at him. At this man I'd once loved enough to marry, feared enough to flee. His eyes held that same intensity that had drawn me to him in the first place. That absolute certainty, that unwavering focus when he wanted something. And right now, he wanted us. Okay, I heard myself say. We'll stay. But I have conditions too. Name them. Lily comes first. Always. Whatever happens between us, she's protected from it. She doesn't see violence, doesn't hear about your business, doesn't grow up afraid. Agreed. And I want her to have a normal childhood. Play dates, birthday parties, friends from school. Normal things, not just guards and gates and isolation. His jaw tightened, but he nodded. Within reason. I won't compromise her safety, but I'll try. One more thing. I met his eyes squarely. Whatever this is between us, whatever you think it could be, I'm not making any promises. I'm here for Lily. Not for you. Something flashed in his expression. Hurt, anger, determination. We'll see about that. Before I could respond, Maria knocked softly on the door. Mr. Moretti? I have clothes for the little one, and lunch is ready. Dante stepped back, his mask of control sliding into place. Thank you, Maria. We'll be right there. He offered me his hand, and after a moment's hesitation, I took it. His fingers closed around mine, warm and strong and possessive in a way that made my pulse jump. Welcome home, Elena, he murmured as he led me back toward the library, toward our daughter, toward a future I couldn't escape. Welcome home. The first night in Dante's penthouse felt like sleeping in a museum. Everything was too clean, too perfect, too expensive to touch. Maria had shown us to a guest suite. 2 connecting rooms with a shared bathroom that sparkled like something from a luxury hotel. Lily's room had been hastily furnished with items that must have cost a fortune. A canopy bed with silk sheets, stuffed animals still bearing price tags, toys arranged on pristine shelves. Mama, look! She'd spun in circles, her wet clothes replaced by a soft pink pajama set that probably cost more than my weekly grocery budget. It's like a princess room. I'd smiled and tucked her in, watching her fall asleep almost instantly, exhausted from the day's emotional upheaval. She looked so small in that enormous bed, so fragile despite the luxury surrounding her. Now I stood at the window of my own room, staring out at the city lights blurred by rain. My reflection looked like a stranger, showered, wearing clothes Maria had provided, standing in a space that could have housed my entire apartment 3 times over. A soft knock made me turn. "It's open," I said, though I already knew who it was. Dante entered, changed from his suit into dark slacks and a white shirt with the sleeves rolled up. Casual for him, but still put together in a way that made my borrowed sweatpants and t-shirt feel inadequate. He carried 2 glasses and a bottle of wine. "I thought you might need this," he said, setting them on the side table. "I don't drink anymore." A lie, but I needed my walls up. "Since when?" He poured anyway, the burgundy liquid catching the light. "Since I had a daughter to take care of alone." The barb hit its mark. His jaw tightened, but he simply pushed 1 glass toward me. "She's asleep. 1 glass won't hurt." I took it because refusing felt childish, but I didn't drink. Instead, I watched him move to the window beside me, both of us reflected in the glass like ghosts. "I had my people pack up your apartment," he said quietly. "You what?" I spun to face him. "Your lease ends in 2 weeks anyway." "I paid it out, and everything you owned is being moved to storage tomorrow. You'll have access whenever you want, but there's no point paying rent on an empty apartment. You had no right. I had every right." His voice cut through my protest. "You agreed to stay here. That means your old life ends tonight. Clean break. You can't just erase 4 years like they never happened. Watch me." He took a slow sip of wine, his eyes never leaving mine. "I've already enrolled Lily in the best private preschool in the city. She starts Monday. My lawyer is preparing paperwork to add her to my will, establish her trust fund, update her birth certificate to include my name." Her birth certificate? My hands shook. "Dante, she doesn't even know you're her father yet. Then we tell her. Tomorrow." He set his glass down with careful precision. "I've waited long enough, Elena. She deserves to know. She's 4 years old. She won't understand. She'll understand that the man who bought her hot chocolate, who showed her his mother's dollhouse, who wants to take care of her and her mother is her father. Children are more resilient than you think." I wanted to argue, but exhaustion pressed down on me like a physical weight. The day had been too much. Seeing him again, the fear, the negotiations, moving into this golden prison. "I need time," I whispered. "We both do. To adjust, to figure out how this works. We don't have time." He moved closer, and I could smell his cologne, feel the heat of his body. "Every day she doesn't know is another day stolen. I won't lose more." "And what about what I need? What she needs?" "I'm giving you both everything." His voice held genuine confusion, as if he couldn't understand why I wasn't grateful. "Safety, security, luxury. Captivity," I finished. "Wrapped in silk and locked behind gates. Protection." He caught my chin, forcing me to meet his eyes. "There's a difference." "Is there?" I pulled away, creating distance between us. "Your men are already stationed outside. I saw the cameras in every hallway. This isn't a home, Dante. It's a fortress. Because the world I live in requires fortresses." Frustration bled through his control. "You knew this when you married me. You knew what I was, what I did. I knew you were dangerous. I didn't know I'd become another possession to guard." Silence fell between us, heavy with everything unsaid. Rain continued its assault on the windows, nature indifferent to human drama. "Is that really what you think?" His voice was quieter now, almost vulnerable. "That you were just a possession? Weren't we all?" I gestured vaguely. "Your people, your properties, your wife. Everything organized and controlled and protected until it suffocates." He flinched, actual pain crossing his features before the mask returned. "I loved you. You owned me." But even as I said it, I knew it wasn't entirely fair. Dante had loved me in his way, fierce, consuming, absolute. The problem was that his love left no room for anything else. "I kept you safe," he corrected. "From threats you didn't even know existed. From men who would have hurt you to hurt me. From living." The words burst out before I could stop them. I felt like I was dying, Dante. Slowly suffocating in your perfect apartment with your perfect security and your perfect control. I couldn't breathe without permission. Couldn't exist without surveillance. Is that really love? It was all I knew how to give. His admission hung in the air between us. My father taught me to protect what's mine, to to never show weakness, to control every variable because losing control means losing everything. He reached for his wine, drained it. When you left, I lost control. I tore the city apart looking for you. I made enemies into allies, called in every favor, spent money like water, and still, nothing. You vanished like smoke. I had to. Because I failed you. He set the empty glass down with a sharp click. I see that now. I was so focused on keeping you safe that I never asked if you were happy. I assumed providing was enough, that luxury equaled love. His eyes met mine, raw and exposed. I was wrong. The admission shocked me more than anything else that day. Dante Moretti didn't admit weakness, didn't apologize, didn't acknowledge mistakes. Yet here he stood, stripped of his usual armor. I won't make the same mistake with Lily, he continued. I'll learn. I'll do better. But I need you to meet me halfway, Elena. I need you to believe that I can change. Can you? I searched his face for the answer. Can you really give her freedom while keeping her safe? Can you let her grow without controlling every aspect of her life? I don't know. His honesty was brutal, but I'll try. For her. For you. He stepped closer again, and this time I didn't retreat. Give me a chance to prove I'm not the monster you ran from. You're not a monster. The words came out softer than intended. You never were. You're just too much. Too intense. Too possessive. Too in love with you to let you go. His hand found my waist. Tentative. Testing. That hasn't changed. 4 years? And I still dream about you every night. Still reach for you in the morning. Still... Don't. I pressed my hand against his chest, feeling his heartbeat thunder beneath my palm. We can't go back there. Whatever we had, it's over. Is it? His other hand tangled in my hair, gentle but insistent. Because your pulse just jumped. Your breath just quickened. Your body remembers me even if your mind wants to forget. He was right, and I hated it. Hated that after everything, after 4 years of freedom and fear and learning to be whole without him, my traitorous body still responded to his touch like coming home. This is about Lily, I managed, though my voice shook. Not us. It's about all of us. His thumb traced my lower lip, and heat pooled low in my stomach. We're a family now, Elena, whether you want to admit it or not, and families figure things out together. Dante... Whatever I was going to say died as Lily's voice called out from the next room. Mama? I pulled away from him instantly, my heart racing for different reasons now. I'm here, baby. What's wrong? I found her sitting up in bed, clutching one of the new stuffed animals, her face uncertain in the dim glow of the nightlight Maria had left on. I had a dream, she said softly, about the nice man from the café. He was smiling at me, but then he disappeared and I couldn't find him. Dante appeared in the doorway, his expression unreadable in the shadows. I felt his presence like electricity, charging the air between us. What kind of dream? I asked, sitting on the edge of her bed. A good dream, she yawned. He gave me a big house to play in. But then I woke up and forgot where I was. You're safe, I soothed, brushing hair from her forehead. We're in a friend's apartment. Remember? The one with the fancy car and the big dollhouse? The nice man's house? Her eyes drifted toward Dante. Yes, sweetheart. Is he still here? Before I could answer, Dante moved into the room, his massive frame somehow gentle as he knelt beside the bed. I'm here, and I'm not going anywhere. Lily studied him with that disconcerting directness children possess. Promise? Promise. His voice was thick with emotion. Okay. She snuggled back into her pillows, satisfied. Good night, nice man. Good night, Lily. He stood slowly, and I saw him swallow hard, fighting for composure. We left her room together, pulling the door partly closed. In the hallway, with my daughter's innocent trust still hanging in the air between us, everything felt different. More real. More terrifying. Tomorrow, Dante said quietly. We tell her tomorrow. I nodded, too exhausted to fight anymore. Tomorrow. He reached out, his fingers ghosting across my cheek in a touch so tender it made my throat tight. Thank you. for agreeing to this, for giving me a chance. Don't make me regret it. I won't." His hand dropped, but his eyes held mine with that familiar intensity. "Sleep well, Elena. You're safe here. Both of you." Then he was gone, disappearing into the shadows of his fortress home, leaving me alone with the sound of rain and the weight of decisions I couldn't take back. I returned to my room and finally took that sip of wine. It was excellent, of course. Everything in Dante's world was excellent, beautiful and expensive and suffocating. But as I lay in sheets that cost more than my monthly rent, I couldn't deny one terrifying truth. Part of me had missed this, missed him, missed the security and the intensity and the absolute certainty that came from being Dante Moretti's focus, even if that focus felt like burning alive. Morning came with pale sunlight breaking through the rain clouds. I woke to silence, the eerie, unsettling quiet of wealth, where even the city sounds were muffled by triple-paned windows and insulated walls. For a moment, I forgot where I was. Then memory crashed back, and with it, the weight of what today meant. We were telling Lily the truth. I found her already awake, sitting cross-legged on her bed surrounded by the new stuffed animals, having what appeared to be a very serious tea party with them. She looked up when I entered, her smile bright and uncomplicated. "Mama, Mr. Bear says the pancakes here are really good. Can we have pancakes?" "We'll see what Maria has made." I helped her wash up and get dressed, my hands moving through the familiar routine while my mind spun with anxiety. How did you tell a 4-year-old that the stranger from yesterday was her father? That everything she'd known was about to change? The dining room was flooded with morning light, the rain-washed city gleaming beyond the windows. Dante sat at the head of a table that could seat 12, dressed in a dark suit, reading something on his tablet. He looked up when we entered, and the transformation in his expression, from cold business to warm welcome, was startling. "Good morning." He stood, pulling out chairs for us. "I hope you slept well." "The bed was really soft," Lily announced, climbing into her seat. "Like sleeping on a cloud. I'm glad." His voice held a roughness that spoke of emotion barely contained. "Maria made pancakes, as requested, and bacon, and fresh fruit." Shh. The breakfast that appeared was ridiculous in its abundance. Golden pancakes stacked high, crispy bacon, berries that looked hand-selected for perfection, fresh squeezed orange juice in crystal glasses. Lily's eyes went wide. "This is all for us?" "All for you, Piccola." The Italian endearment slipped out naturally, and I saw Lily tilt her head, curious but not afraid. We ate in relative silence, Lily focused on her pancakes, Dante and I exchanging loaded glances over her head. Finally, he set down his fork and cleared his throat. "Lily, your mother and I need to talk to you about something important." She looked up, syrup on her chin, immediately sensing the shift in tone. "Am I in trouble?" "No, sweetheart. Not at all." I wiped her face gently. "We just need to tell you something good." Dante's hand clenched on the table, knuckles white. I'd never seen him nervous before. Not when facing down rivals, not when making deals worth millions, not even on our wedding day. But now, facing our daughter, he looked almost terrified. "Do you remember yesterday?" I started carefully. "When we met the nice man at the café?" "The one with the big car?" She nodded enthusiastically. "Yes. Well, he's more than just a nice man." I glanced at Dante, who seemed frozen. "He's someone very special, someone who cares about you very much." "Like a friend?" "More than a friend." My throat felt tight. "Lily, do you know what a father is?" Her brow furrowed in concentration. "Tommy at daycare has a father. He says his daddy takes him to the park and reads him stories." "That's right. A father is someone who loves you and takes care of you and..." My voice cracked, and Dante's hand found mine under the table, squeezing once. "I'm your father, Lily." His voice was steady despite the emotion in his eyes. "I'm your daddy." She stared at him, processing. The silence stretched, and I could see Dante holding his breath, waiting for her reaction. Then, with the brutal honesty of childhood, she asked, "Why weren't you there before?" The question hit him like a physical blow. "Because I didn't know about you. Your mama and I, we lived far apart, and I didn't know you existed, but now I do." and I promise I'm never leaving again. Never ever? Never ever. He moved from his chair, kneeling beside her so they were eye level. I know this is confusing. I know I'm a stranger to you right now. But I want to be your daddy if you'll let me. I want to take you to the park and read you stories and make sure you're happy and safe always. Lily studied him with those blue eyes. His eyes that saw too much. Do I have to call you daddy? You can call me whatever feels right. Dante, if you prefer. Or nothing at all, until you're ready. She thought about this, her small face serious. Then, can you read stories as good as Mama? A smile broke across his face, genuine and devastating. I'll try my very best, okay? She turned back to her pancakes, apparently satisfied with this life-altering information. Can I have more syrup? I laughed, the sound half sob, half relief. Only a child could accept such monumental news and immediately return to breakfast. Dante stood slowly, and when his eyes met mine, they were bright with unshed tears. The rest of the morning passed in a strange domestic tableau. Dante canceled his meetings, something his assistant seemed shocked by, based on the phone call I overheard. He spent hours with Lily, showing her around the penthouse, answering her endless questions with patience I didn't know he possessed. I watched from doorways and windows, this man I'd married becoming the father I'd denied him the chance to be. He was gentle with her, careful, as if she might break. When she asked to see his office, he showed her. When she wanted to push all the buttons in the elevator, he let her. When she asked why he had so many phones, he simply said it was for work. But I also noticed the other things. The security check-ins every hour, the way his men reported to him in hushed voices, the darkness that crept into his expression when he thought no one was watching. This was still Dante Moretti, crime lord, dangerous man, killer when necessary. The tenderness with Lily didn't erase what he was. By afternoon, Lily had worn herself out and gone down for a nap in her princess room. Maria was grocery shopping with a list of Lily's favorite foods I'd provided. And I found myself alone with Dante in his study, rain starting again outside. She accepted it better than I expected, I said, standing by his desk where he was supposedly working, though I'd seen him staring at the same document for 20 minutes. Children are adaptable. He set down his pen. It's the adults who complicate things. Speaking of complications, we need to discuss boundaries. Boundaries. He repeated the word like it was foreign. Yes. Ground rules. Like what you tell her about your work. How involved your people are in her daily life. Whether she's allowed to leave the building without... She doesn't leave without security. That's non-negotiable. Dante... Elena. He stood, moving around the desk. I've already received 3 credible threats since word got out I have a daughter. 3, in less than 24 hours. Do you understand what that means? Cold dread settled in my stomach. Word got out? Already? My enemies aren't stupid. They watch. They listen. They piece things together. A woman and child entering my building, staying overnight. Me canceling all my meetings. He ran a hand through his hair, frustration evident. I've made arrangements. Extra security, vetted personnel only, restricted access to this floor. But she cannot be unprotected. Not ever. This is exactly what I was afraid of. My voice rose despite my attempt at calm. She's 4 years old, and already she's a target because of who you are. She's a target because of who we are. You're her mother. That makes you vulnerable too. He caught my shoulders, his grip firm. This is the reality, Elena. I can't change it. I can only prepare for it, protect against it, eliminate threats before they materialize. Eliminate. The word made me sick. You mean kill. If necessary. No hesitation. No apology. I will do whatever it takes to keep her safe. To keep both of you safe. If that makes me a monster in your eyes, so be it. I pulled away, wrapping my arms around myself. I don't want her growing up thinking violence is the answer to everything. She won't. I'll make sure of that. His voice softened. But I also won't lie to her about the world. When she's older, when she asks questions, she deserves honest answers. She deserves to know who her father is, all of it. the good and the bad. She's 4, I know, which is why for now, I'm just daddy who works a lot and has people who help keep us safe. He moved to the window, his reflection ghost-like in the glass. But eventually, she'll need to know. And when that day comes, I want her to hear it from me, not from someone else trying to hurt her with the truth. The care in his voice, the genuine concern for her well-being despite everything else he was. It made my chest ache. This was the man I'd fallen in love with. The one who existed beneath the violence and control. The one who loved fiercely and completely, even if he didn't always know how to show it properly. I'm scared, I admitted quietly, scared of what this life will do to her. To us. He turned, closing the distance between us in 2 strides. His hands framed my face, thumbs stroking my cheekbones with unbearable gentleness. I know. But you're not alone anymore. Whatever comes, we face it together. As a family. We're not. We are. Firm. Absolute. That's you, family. Me and Lily, whether you want to admit it or not. And I protect what's mine. There you go again. Claiming ownership. Is that what this is? His eyes searched mine. Because it feels like love to me. Feels like I'd burn the world down before letting anything hurt either of you. Feels like every breath I take is easier knowing you're finally home where you belong. Dante. He kissed me. Slow, deep, devastating. It was nothing like the passion we'd once shared. This was something more profound, more desperate. It tasted like apology and promise, and 4 years of longing compressed into a single moment. I should have pushed him away, should have maintained boundaries, kept walls up, remembered all the reasons I'd left. Instead, I kissed him back. My hands fisted in his shirt, pulling him closer, and he groaned against my mouth, his control fracturing. 4 years of separation, of running, of pretending I didn't miss this. It all shattered like glass. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, he rested his forehead against mine. "Tell me you didn't feel that," he whispered. "Tell me there's nothing left between us." I couldn't, because it would be a lie. 3 months had passed since that rainy afternoon in the cafe, and life had settled into a rhythm I never expected. Lily thrived. Her preschool reports glowed with praise, her laughter filled the penthouse, and her bond with Dante grew stronger each day. She called him Daddy now, unselfconsciously, as if he'd always been there, and maybe, in some ways, he had been. In her eyes, in her smile, in the stubbornness she displayed when she wanted something. All Dante. I stood in the doorway of the library, watching them together. Dante sat cross-legged on the floor, something I never thought I'd see, while Lily explained the elaborate backstory she'd created for each doll in the dollhouse. He listened with complete attention, asking questions, making suggestions, his dangerous hands gentle as he helped rearrange tiny furniture. "And this one is the queen," Lily declared, holding up a doll in a purple dress. "She's very brave and protects everyone." "Like your mama," Dante said softly, glancing up to find me watching. The look in his eyes made my breath catch. Pride, love, gratitude, and something hungrier that he'd been careful to keep leashed these past months. He'd been patient, painfully so. No pressure, no demands, just steady presence and the slow dismantling of every wall I'd built. Mornings where he made Lily pancakes. Evenings where we'd read stories together, the 3 of us crowded on her bed. Quiet moments where his hand would find mine and squeeze, nothing more. Just connection. "Mama, come play with us." Lily waved me over, and I joined them on the floor, fitting into the space between father and daughter, as if I'd always belonged there. The afternoon dissolved into pretend play and laughter. Later, after Lily's bath and bedtime routine, Dante and I found ourselves alone in the living room, the city lights twinkling beyond the windows like earthbound stars. "She asked me today if we were getting married again," Dante said, swirling whiskey in his glass. My heart stuttered. "What did you tell her?" "That grown-ups need time to figure things out." He set down the glass, turning to face me fully. "But she's not wrong to ask. We live together, raise her together, share meals and bedtimes and all the small intimacies of family life." In every way that matters, we're already together. Except we're not. But the protest sounded weak even to my ears. Aren't we? He moved closer, and I didn't retreat. You haven't slept in the guest room for a month. Every night you end up in my bed, in my arms. Every morning, I wake up with you beside me. Tell me that means nothing. It had started innocently, nightmares about losing Lily, about the past catching up with us. I'd sought comfort, and he'd provided it without expectation. But somewhere along the way, comfort had become habit had become need, and need had become something I was afraid to name. I'm scared, I whispered. Scared of falling back into patterns, of losing myself again, of loving me. He cupped my face, his touch achingly familiar. You can say it, Elena. You're scared of admitting you still love me. Because loving you is terrifying. The confession tumbled out. You consume everything. You're like fire, beautiful and warm and absolutely devastating. I burned myself once getting too close. I can't do that again. Then let me be different. His thumb traced my lower lip. These past 3 months, have I smothered you, controlled you, kept you prisoner? I thought about the freedom he'd given me. The credit cards in my name with no spending limits, the car and driver at my disposal, the trust he'd shown when I took Lily to the park with just one security detail instead of his entire team. The way he asked my opinion on decisions affecting our daughter, actually listened, sometimes even deferred to my judgment. No, I admitted. You haven't. I learned. His voice roughened. Losing you taught me what matters, not control, not possession, but partnership, trust. Letting the people you love have space to breathe while still keeping them safe. He leaned closer, his breath warm against my lips. I'm not the same man you left, Elena. I've changed. For you, for Lily, for us. Dante, marry me again. The words were soft but certain, not because I'm demanding it, not because you have no choice, but because you want to. Because despite everything, despite the fear in the past and all the reasons it shouldn't work, it does. We work. My heart hammered against my ribs. I need to know something first. Anything. The threats you mentioned. The enemies. Are we really safe? His expression hardened. There were issues. I resolved them. Resolved how? Do you really want to know? His eyes searched mine. Do you want the details of what I did to protect our family? I thought about it. About the darkness in his world, the violence I'd always known existed but never witnessed. Part of me wanted to know everything. To see all of him without filters. But another part, the mother part, understood that some knowledge was burden rather than power. No, I said finally. I just need to know we're safe, that Lily's safe. You are. I swear it. He pressed his forehead to mine. I burned bridges, called in debts, made alliances I never thought I'd make. Anyone who even thought about threatening you or Lily learned very quickly that it was the last mistake they'd ever make. We're safe, amore mio, I promise you. The Italian endearment, unused for so long, wrapped around my heart. You can't promise complete safety. Not in your world. No, but I can promise I'll die before I let anything happen to either of you. That I'll use every resource, every connection, every ounce of power I possess to keep you both protected. His hand slid into my hair, and I can promise I'll love you, both of you, with everything I am. For as long as I breathe. Tears pricked my eyes. You make it sound so simple. It is simple. I love you. You love me. We have a daughter who deserves parents who are together, who love each other, who can show her what family means. He kissed my forehead, soft and reverent. The rest is just details, important details, like the fact that your job is illegal, that you'll always have enemies, that our life will never be completely normal. No, but it will be ours. He pulled back enough to look at me properly. I can't give you normal, Elena. I can't promise white picket fences and neighborhood barbecues, but I can give you passion and protection, and a love so absolute it terrifies me. I can give you honesty, no more secrets, No more controlling everything behind your back. I can give you partnership in raising our daughter. And I can give you this." He pulled a small box from his pocket, and my breath stopped. Inside was a ring, not the massive diamond he'd given me the first time, but something simpler, a platinum band with 3 small stones: sapphire, diamond, ruby. "Blue for Lily's eyes," he explained softly. "White for new beginnings, red for the passion that brought us together and will keep us strong." He took my hand, his thumb stroking over my knuckles. "I had this made months ago, been carrying it every day, waiting for the right moment, waiting for you to be ready. Dante, you don't have to answer now. Take time. Think about it. But know this. Whether you say yes today or a year from now, I'm not going anywhere. This is where I belong. With you. With our daughter. Home." I looked at the ring, glinting in the low light. Looked at this man who'd been monster and lover, captor and protector, my greatest fear and my deepest love. Thought about 3 months of watching him become the father Lily deserved, the partner I'd needed, the man who'd learned from mistakes rather than repeating them. Thought about the kiss we'd shared in his study, the nights in his arms, the mornings waking up to his sleepy smile and gentle touches, the way my heart had started beating differently, had started feeling like home again. "Yes," I whispered. His eyes widened. "Yes, I'll marry you. Again. For real this time. Not because I'm young and dazzled, but because I choose you. Choose us. Choose this family we've built." I touched his face, feeling the tension in his jaw. "But I have conditions. Name them." His voice was hoarse. Complete honesty. No decisions about our life made without consulting me. No shutting me out when things get dangerous. I want to know what we're facing. Agreed. And we do this right. Therapy, maybe. Learning to communicate better. Building something healthy, not just passionate. Whatever you need. He slid the ring onto my finger and it fit perfectly. Of course it did. "Anything, everything. Just don't leave me again. Please." "I won't." And I meant it. I'm staying. We're staying. He kissed me then, deep and claiming and somehow tender. And I tasted salt. His tears or mine, I couldn't tell. 4 years of running, of fear, of pretending I could survive without him. All dissolved in that kiss. When we finally broke apart, he was smiling. Really smiling. The rare, unguarded expression that transformed his face from dangerous to devastating. "I'm going to be the best husband," he promised. "The best father. I'm going to spend every day proving you made the right choice. You better." I smiled through my own tears, because if you revert to your controlling ways, I'm taking Lily and we're moving to the guest suite. Noted. He laughed, the sound rich and genuine. "Though I should warn you, I'm having that suite converted into a playroom for Lily, so you'd have nowhere to go." "Dante." "What?" "Our daughter needs space for her toys. They're taking over the library." He grinned, unrepentant. "Besides, you're not going anywhere. You're stuck with me now." Apparently so. But I was smiling as I said it, my heart lighter than it had been in years. We sat together on the couch, his arm around my shoulders, my head on his chest, listening to his steady heartbeat. Outside, the city glowed, indifferent to human drama. Inside, we'd found something precious. Second chances, hard-won trust, and love that survived even the darkest valleys. "Mama? Daddy?" We looked up to find Lily standing in her pajamas, rubbing her eyes. I had a good dream this time. We were all together, and everyone was smiling. Dante stood, scooping her up. "That's not a dream, Piccola. That's real now." "Really?" She looked between us, hope bright in her eyes. His eyes. "Really," I confirmed, joining them. "We're a family. All 3 of us together." She threw her arms around both our necks, squeezing tight. "I love you, Mama. I love you, Daddy." "We love you too, baby," I whispered, meeting Dante's gaze over her head. In his eyes, I saw everything. Past pain, present joy, future promise. He carried her back to bed, and I followed. The 3 of us crowded together while we told her stories until she drifted off. Later, in the quiet darkness of Dante's bedroom, our bedroom now, we lay tangled together, his fingers tracing lazy patterns on my skin. "Thank you," he murmured against my hair, "for coming back, for giving me another chance, for Lily. Thank you for learning, for changing, for being patient with me." He kissed my temple. "Whatever comes, we face it together. Promise me." I promise. And this time, I knew I'd keep it. Outside, rain began to fall again, but inside we were warm, safe, whole. A family forged through pain and separation, but stronger for it. The storm had passed, leaving behind something precious. Love that had survived the test, trust rebuilt brick by careful brick, and a future stretching ahead filled with possibility. I'd spent 4 years running from this man, from this life. But sometimes, the thing you fear most is exactly what you need. Sometimes the cage you escape is really a sanctuary. Sometimes love isn't about freedom or captivity, but about choosing to stay, choosing to trust, choosing to build something beautiful from broken pieces. As I drifted toward sleep in Dante's arms, our daughter safe in the next room, I realized something profound. I hadn't just come home to a place. I'd come home to myself, the woman who was strong enough to leave, brave enough to return, and wise enough to know the difference between prison and protection. The rain continued its gentle percussion against the windows, a lullaby for new beginnings. And for the first time in 4 years, I slept without nightmares, without fear, without the constant weight of secrets. I slept like someone who'd finally found where they belonged,